Hello, concert band, and welcome to week 6 of doing band from home. We're going to look, after we go through your warm-ups, we're going to be looking at page 16 in your traditions book and starting with line 77 since we did the first half of the page last week. So I'll be back with you as soon as you get through going through your warm-up, and we'll be ready to begin. For right now, we're going to be looking at fundamentals for band. So go ahead and get that up. I'll give you just a second. You can find it. You can pause the video, and when you've got it, you can come back. Okay, we're going to look at, find your page, and we're looking at number 2, long tones. On long tones, I'm going to set my metronome at 80 beats per minute, and we're going to hold these notes full value and play through line 2. So you can do that with me. I'll count you off. 1, 2, 3. Now we can repeat that exercise a couple of times. Just rest for a few seconds between to let the blood get back in your lips and then play it again. For now, I'm moving on to number 3.01, articulation. I want you to listen to me play this one time and count with me. Then the second time I want you to play with me. Okay, fingering count with me this time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now you're going to play with me this time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so you can do that a couple of times until you get that even. If you have a metronome at home, you should be able to get one on your phone if you don't have one, and you can practice these without the video as well as with them. So now we're going to move on to 3-0-2, where we have 16th notes. We'll count this pattern: 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4. I'll play it this time. I want you to finger with it and count out loud while I'm playing. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. We can do that again. Now this time, I want you to play with me. So we're going to get your horns ready to play. 1, 2, 3. Alright, you can repeat that as many times as you would like. Now looking at number 4, flexibility. The notes are going to be a little different in this for some instruments. You're going to hear me go lower when your notes are going higher, but your notes will still fit with what I'm playing. So we're going to start out by playing this tonguing every note, but keeping it smooth and connected. There is a repeat at the end, so after a 2-measure break to let your lips recover, then go back and play the second time. So the first time, let's play this and tongue each measure. Here we go. Everyone playing together. 1, 2, 3. Two, three. Now this time we're going to slur it through. Ready? Now, you'll need to go through that as many times as you need to get that even, where you can slur each note in the brass, where you can make those slurs without having to use your tongue. And woodwinds to where your fingers are lining up and everything's coming out nice and smooth. Okay, now let's look at number 5.01, the 6-note scale in B flat. I'm going to set my metronome at 90 beats a minute. The first time we go through this, I want you to finger and say the note names with me. So let's do this one time through with you fingering and saying the note names. The first thing you always look at on this is the key signature. Here we go. Finger and say the names. 1, 2. Okay, now the next time we do this, I want you to play along with me. Notice that I made it all the way through that on one breath. So you should be able to do the same thing. I'm going to slow it down a little bit so that you can get more of the notes. Then we'll come back later and play this again, and you can pick up the tempo. So we're going to set it at 80 beats a minute and play through it together. Then you can come back later and play through with my first tempo, or practice it with your metronome. Here we go. Play with me. 1, 2. Okay, now let's look at number 5.02, the 6-note scale in E flat. I'll raise that back up to 90, so that way I'll be able to go through it on one full breath. Finger along, say the note names, look at the key signature first. Here we go. 502, 6-note scale in E flat. 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, we'll slow it back down. I want you to play with me this time. Once again, once you're done at a slower speed, take your metronome, pick up the tempo. Here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2. Sorry about that, started on the wrong one. But you can hear it and play back through that without me. All right, now we're ready to go with number 77. What we want to do on 77 is look at the rhythm here on this counting line. We have a quarter note, then we have 2/8 notes, then we have 4/16 notes, and then a quarter note. So we would count this 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. Do that with me. Ready? And now. 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. Again, first measure, clap and count with me. Now. 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. Now let's look at the second measure. The second measure looks just like the first measure, except we have a tie on the first 2/16 notes, which when we add 2/16 notes together, that becomes an 8th note. So we would count this 1, 2, and 3, and a 4, because the tied 2/16 notes get 3E together, and the next note comes on and. So 1, 2, and 3E, and a 4. Do that with me. Ready? Second measure. Now, 1, 2, and 3E, and a 4. Now we're looking at the third measure. The third measure will sound just like the second measure. This is just a different way of writing the same thing. They actually show you the 8th notes. We have quarter, 8, 8, 8, 16, 16, quarter. So 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. Try that with me. Ready? Out loud. 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. And then the last measure, we have 8, 2/16, 8, 2/16, a quarter note, and a quarter rest. So we would count that last measure, 1, and a 2, and a 3, 4. Do that with me. Ready? And now. 1, and a 2, and a 3, 4. So what we want to do now is grab a pencil and let's write the counts under those measures. So on that first measure, we would write 1, 2, and 3E, and a 4. So go ahead and write that underneath measure 77, the first measure of 77. Now the second measure of 77, we would write 1, 2, and 3 with the E in parentheses, and a 4. So go ahead and write that in. And the third measure, 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. Okay, go ahead and write that in. And the last measure, 1, and a 2, and a 3, then a rest on 4. Okay, write that in. So now let's clap and count that whole line together. Ready? Number 77. Here we go. Clap and count. Ready? Now. 1, 2, and 3E, and a 4. 1, 2, and 3E, and a 4. 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. 1, and a 2, and a 3, 4. All right. So now that you go over that a few times, make sure you got the counting written in correctly the way I'm going to show you on the screen in the shots that I showed you. And now we're going to play this using the note that it tells us, concert E flat. So look at it for your instrument. I'm going to play it this time, and I want you to count with me. Ready? 1, 2, and ready now. Now this time you play it with me. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and now. All right, now rewind rewind the video and do that over and over until you are comfortable with that counting. Now let's take a look at number 78, Skill Builder Sailor Song. First thing we have to look at before we do anything is our key signature. So for our C instruments, flutes, trombone, baritone, and percussion, we have B flat, now finger with me, we have B flat, E flat, and A flat. For B flat instruments, clarinets and trumpets, we have a B flat in our key, everything else is natural. For saxes, nothing, so your Fs are natural, first finger F. All right, so now, let's look at the rhythm. We're going to take this 2 measures at a time. So we're going to look at the very first 2 measures of 78. We have, look at the first measure, 1 and a 2 and a. Then the second measure, 1 and 2 and. So let's clap and count those first 2 measures. Ready? Clap and count with me. Now, 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2 and. So finger and count with me. I'll play it, you finger and count. Ready? Now. That's 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2 and. Finger and count again. Ready? First 2. All right, this time, play along with me. First 2 measures. Ready? And. All right, now look at the 3rd and 4th measure. You'll see the rhythm is exactly the same as the first 2. We just changed the notes. So let's finger and count. We have, this is the 3rd and 4th measure, 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2 and. So clap and count that with me. Measure 3 and 4. Ready? Now. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and. All right, this time I'm going to play it. I want you to finger and count with me. 1 and a 2 and a ready. Now. Okay, this time play those 2 measures with me. This is the 3rd and 4th measure. 1, 2, ready, now. Okay, now we'll look at the next 2 measures. The 5th and 6th measure, notice the rhythm is still the same. We still have the exact same rhythm we've had in the previous 2 sets of 2. Just changing the notes. The first measure and the 5th measure are exactly the same. So let's finger and count this. Ready? Now. 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2 and. Watch out for the accidental. So you finger and count while I play. Ready? This is the 5th and 6th measures. Ready? And now. All right. Play that with me. 5th and 6th. 1, 2, ready, begin. All right. So with that one rhythm, that 1 2-measure rhythm, we've already got 3/4 of the song. So the only thing we have left is the last 2 measures. So let's finger the last 2 measures. Ready? Here we go. Last 2 measures. Finger and say the names. Name, 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 name. So the counting is 1 and 2 and 1, 2. So finger and count with me. Ready? And now. 1 and 2 and 1, 2. I'll play it. You finger and count. 2. Here we go. All right. Now you play it with me this time. Last 2 measures. Ready? Now. All right. So now we're ready to go through the whole piece. So the first I want you to finger and count with me while I play, and then we'll go back a second time and play it together. We're not going to do the repeat, just for the sake of time. So I'm going to play. I want you to finger and count. Remember, we're counting this rhythm. 1 and a 2 and a 1. The and is as your foot comes up. Down, up and down, up and down. Ready? Here we go. Finger and count. 2. Here we go. Now. All right. So now that you've heard it a few times and counted with it, now let's play it together. Here we go. Ready? 1 and a 2 and a play together. All right, you can repeat this as many times as you would like. Okay, let's look at number 79, Tirra Lirra Lou. This is your test for Friday. And when you do your test on Friday, I want you to tell me that Tuesday was Cinco de Mayo. And if you do that on the recording, I will give you 5 extra points on your test grade. So don't forget the extra credit. You have to say it on your flip grid test. So on number 79, the first thing we have to look at is the key signature. For B-flat instruments, trumpets and clarinets, there's nothing in your key, which means all your B's are natural. For trombones, flutes, tuba, baritone, bells, you have a B-flat, finger that with me, and finger an E-flat, and then A natural. Second position, second valve, 2 fingers. For saxophones, you have an F-sharp. So that gets us our key signature. So we're going to look at this, and we're going to break this up into 2 measure sections. And if we look at these 2 measure sections, the rhythm is pretty much the same in almost all of the 2 measure sections. So once we get this rhythm established, then it's easy to put it in all the other measures. So let's look at the very first 2 measures. We have 4/16 notes, an 1/8 note, 2/16, then 2 1/8 notes and a quarter. So we would count that 1 E and a 2 and a 1 and 2. Oh. Do that with me. Clap and count the first 2 with me. Ready? And now. 1 E and a 2 and a 1 and 2. Now, I'm going to play it. And I want you to count out loud using those syllables. 1 E and a 2 and a 1 and 2. Here we go. You count, I play. Ready? And now. One more time, finger and count. Now. All right, this time play it with me. First 2 measures, ready? Now. Okay, now let's look at the 3rd and 4th measure. The 3rd and 4th measure is counted exactly the same as the first 2. So we have 1 E and a 2 and a 1 and 2. So finger and count that with me. This is measure 3 and 4. Ready? Now, 1 E and a 2 and a 1 and 2. You finger and count while I play. Here we go. Ready? And. Again, finger and count. Ready? Now. Okay? So that's got the first half. Now let's look at the 5th and 6th measures. The 5th measure, the rhythm is just like the first one and the 3rd one. The 6th measure, we just have straight 1/8 notes, and they're slightly separated because they're staccato. So finger and count this with me. This is measure 5. 1 E and a 2 and 1 and 2 and. One more time, finger and count 5 and 6. Ready? Now. 1 E and a 2 and 1 and 2 and. This time I'll play, you finger and count. This is the 5th and 6th measures. Ready? And now. Okay, one more time, finger and count. Ready? 5 and 6. All right, you play it with me this time. 5th and 6th measure. Ready? Now. All right, now let's look at the last 2 measures. Same rhythm as the previous 2, just the notes are changing. So let's finger and count. Ready? Last 2 measures. Now, 1 E and a 2, and 1 and 2, and so exactly the same. So we just repeat those 2 measures over again. So let's play the last 4 measures. The last 4 measures. Ready? Play it together. Ready and now. It's just the same thing repeated twice. The DC al fine, the capo al fine, tells us to go back to the beginning, and we'll play those first 4 measures and we'll end at the word fine. So while we're working on this, we want to make sure that we're putting our tongue, brass players and flutes, right up behind the back of your teeth. The tip of your tongue is touching the back of your teeth. Ti-ti-ti-ti-ta. Ti-ti-ti-ti-ta. Say that with me. Ready? And. Ti-ti-ti-ti-ta. Ti-ti-ti-ti-ta. Woodwind players, we want to make sure that, our reed players, that your tongue is touching the tip of the reed, tip of the tongue, tip of your reed. Ti-ti-ti-ti-ta. Ti-ti-ti-ti-ta. I want to feel that tongue touch that reed for each note. Ti-ti-ti-ti-ta. Ti-ti-ti-ti-ta. Practice that with me. Ready? Now. Ti-ti-ti-ti-ta. 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 Now, I want to play through number 79. I want you to finger and count. Remember, we count those 16th notes. 1 E and a 2. So I'm going to play it. I want you to finger and count. Here we go. Number 79. 2. Here we go. Now. That's what happens when you don't get the mouthpiece set quick enough. That's why we always want to get our mouthpiece placed and breathe before we play. While I'm talking to you, it's hard for me to do that. But you can do that. That way we don't get the mouthpiece in the wrong place and have trouble getting notes to play. All right, this time play with me. Remember, this is your test. This test will become available on Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning or somewhere around there. And it has to be done by Friday at 3:30. So when you play your test, remember to tell me the extra credit before you start playing, and I'll give you 5 extra points. So let's play this together. This is your test, number 79. 1 E and a 2 and a ready, and. So rewind this video, go over that several times until you have it where we're not fumbling around. If you're still having problems, go back and do it in the sections again. Listen to what I did in the 2 measure blocks and until we have all the fingers worked out. Don't try to play the test until you have it worked out clean and nice. So hopefully this is helpful, and keep practicing and stay safe.